Hi everybody, Kirsty, Goddess of Neptune here bringing you your astrology overview for the 2nd of March 2023. Hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. And of course, bringing you this overview because today, later on today, certainly for us in the UK, it's tonight, Mercury is transiting into Pisces. So I do have a chart I'm going to bring up, and I've also got the chart to show where it's transiting through in relation to the UK's chart. But before I do, just that essence and that energy of Mercury moving into another sign, how that might affect our communication and how that might affect our thoughts. But I'm feeling more on the communication side of it with this transit, particularly. That's just what I intuitively feel. So it's clearly moving from Aquarius into Pisces. And when Mercury was in Aquarius, and I've mentioned in a previous astrology report, that there was that energy that supported us to feel liberated and free with that Aquarian energy to communicate what we wanted to communicate. But that could have involved stepping out of a comfort zone. It could have been a bit uncomfortable. We want to say this, maybe we felt like we haven't been able to, but then the Aquarian energy is supporting us to. So it's kind of like oh, right, we can do it now, but do we feel ready? And it's certainly been the case within connections because of that Aquarian energy as well. So not wanting to rock the boat in connections and again with people, places, things, but mainly in relation to other people because of communication. Also communication with the self, feeling more liberated to communicate and express to ourselves what we actually desire, what we want, and being truthful about it. So that expression coming from our soul and truly listening to it. And I mention the soul because now moving from Aquarius into Pisces, Mercury is going to support that energy for us to communicate with source energy because of moving into the Piscean realm, into the 12th house area of, the mystical, magical, ethereal oneness, divine source essence. And, we are in Pisces season, of course, so there is a lot of that energy around at the moment. We have to be mindful of the shadow side, which can create confusion, especially when we're considering communication and also thoughts. We don't want to get too confused. We don't want to be deceiving ourselves. We don't want to be deceived, of course. But looking at the positive side, on the light side of the Piscean energy, I feel that it's really going to enhance that connection with source in whatever way you might converse with source, whether it's just through your intuition, meditation, if you get downloads, if you get visuals, clairaudient communication, whatever it is in that way, however you can resonate with that, with source energy. And it might not resonate for you at all, and that's okay, but it's going to enable those of us that do connect in that way to connect deeper. That's how it feels to me. And that's really positive because as we are moving forward on this journey of spiritual evolution and ascension, then we are establishing more of that solid connection with the divine through trusting ourselves and trusting our intuition more, which is of course extremely important. But we've had to get there after going through a lot of energetic hurdles, a lot of transformation. And of course, with Pluto still at the last degrees of Capricorn before moving into Aquarius, there has been that deep purge going on. A lot of things has been coming up to the surface. We've had many things already so far this year, astrologically, that has created the intensity of the energy that we've been seeing for a while. But Pluto, harsh energy at the end of Capricorn, Saturn, currently harsh energy at the end of Aquarius, about to move into Pisces very soon on the 7th of March next week, is calling for change. There has been that essence of change anyway, and I've mentioned that in previous readings also. But that need to change, and we felt that pressure within to make those changes that we know we need to make. And now this is establishing that further, deeper connection with our intuition, with that source energy within, and truly trusting that to move forward because of all that work we've done, because of the journey we've been on, because of all of these experiences, because of the purging, because of all of this, basically. That's how I can sum it up, all of this. And you will know, if you've been feeling it, living it, breathing it, going through it, then you know that all of this sums that up pretty well, because it's been a lot to go through. But that's why it's certainly commendable, and beauty is in the transformation. It's in every part of it, even the murky bits where we're trying to scramble our way out of the cocoon as the butterfly emerges. And I've mentioned this before in other readings, maybe in tarot readings, where, you know, that visual of crawling through as a caterpillar and that sort of metamorphosis going on of wanting to emerge the other side as the beautiful butterfly, but having to go through all the gunk that's within that cocoon and getting your foot stuck on a bit of gunk that's pulling you back because maybe you've got to learn another lesson, or maybe there's somebody that doesn't want you to succeed and you've got to deal with that in some way. That, you know, some ways of being kind of, I say stuck, and not in a negative way, but almost paused, you know, where we've needed to address things. And that's why it's felt hard, because we know we're almost at that point of that beautiful transformation, but we have felt like, oh my goodness me, is there more? Is there more? Is there more? And the reality is, as you know, we get given as much as we can handle, absolutely, because we are strong, we are warrior souls, we are sovereign souls, and we need to remember that. And Mercury going into Pisces certainly enables that enhancement of the sovereignty within our connection to the divine and as a divine being. So I hope that makes sense how I'm explaining it, but I'm going to just pull up the chart now. So bear with me whilst I get that up onto the screen. Okay, so hopefully you should see that now on the screen. And what we have, and I've just put it up as an event. So Mercury in Pisces, 22:52 for Greenwich Mean Time, British Standard Time, but apply it to your own time zone as appropriate. But that is the time that it's going to be transiting in, and it's 0 degrees, as you can see. I have marked a yellow line on the chart just to show 0 degrees. And it's, of course, transited past where Saturn is at the last degrees of Aquarius, but Saturn is obviously on the coattails at the moment. That's not going to be the case, because obviously Mercury is going to carry on moving and Saturn will eventually get into Pisces. But for this moment in time, you know, very, very close. And again, it could be that sort of, you know, almost pushing us in terms of our communication, but the communication with our intuition, that connection with our intuition that we need to establish, because through that we can understand the Saturn lessons. Our intuition knows what we've been going through, and our intuition, our soul, knows where we still need to address certain things. So Saturn's kind of there right on the coattails of Mercury at the moment of this transit, almost saying, you know, look within, you'll find the answers. Have you addressed all of those things? Do you need to communicate anything? Communicate with your intuition, please. And, you know, you will find the lessons within. And to understand and be honest with ourselves, because that connection to our intuition, our soul, so the Mercury and Pisces energy, the communication with our soul is the most truthful that we're ever going to experience. But sometimes we don't always want to hear it. So it's about trusting our intuition, warts and all, because our intuition will guide us in the right way for our highest good. So that's just a little reminder with Saturn being there as well. And what you'll see just above it is marked with a red line, if you can see that red line. In Aries, we have an exact conjunction between Venus and Chiron at 13 degrees. Now, Jupiter is, of course, very close because they are going to meet. And you know, that's on the 12th of March, I believe, when there's an exact conjunction between Jupiter and Chiron. But for the moment, let's focus on Venus and Chiron. So again, this is at the time of the transit of Mercury into Pisces. And, you know, it's important to recognize that with Chiron representing our healing journey, and could also be symbolic of wounds that have been coming up in this lifetime, from past lifetimes, but certainly there to remind us of areas that need to be addressed when it comes to potential wounds, whether that's self-esteem wounds. And that's why it's always worth looking at Lilith as well to see what Lilith is doing with regards to your own Chiron placements. That can give you a lot of insight into your own healing journey of things to address. But with Venus there is almost a softening of it. And this is just how it feels intuitively to me. as I'm interpreting this. So take it if it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. But Venus carries that divine feminine essence, and we have the divine feminine essence within us, regardless of gender. We have feminine and masculine. So with that conjunction there is almost a softening, a nurturing of the wounded elements, not to cloak it, but more so to give it that nurturing, tender touch. Now with Jupiter, that's going to be, of course, conjuncted. There's already a conjunction happening, of course, but an exact conjunction being like on top of another is basically going to be happening on the 12th of March. But it is close enough now to be feeling the effects of it, of course, energetically. So Jupiter brings that expansion. It also brings hope, but it can expand negative. It can expand positive. It's whatever intention we put into it. So when you recognize there's a softening of these wounds that have been coming up that we've had to deal with, there is a softening of that, almost a nurturing and a reminder to show ourselves that love with the Venus energy, show ourselves the love. Very important that we do that because we've been through a lot and we need to show ourselves self-love. It all comes from us anyway. But there is that need to show ourselves that self-love when it comes to the wounds that have been coming up, that we've had to deal with, that we've had to accept, that we've had to acknowledge, that we've had to process and transmute, release in whatever case, gain the wisdom from, all of that. It's big stuff that we've had to deal with. So Venus is there to soften, almost put that comforting arm around Chiron. And in doing so, we're feeling that energetic hug from Venus in relation to the wounds that we've had to process. Now, of course, everybody is on a different journey and we're all processing things at different speeds. And it's whatever is right for us. There's no right or wrong. It's our own unique journey. So there is that nurturing element that I was alluding to, because it's almost like Venus saying to Chiron, there's all this coming up for you. You're going through it. You're transforming it. You're transmuting it with, you know, Pluto's heavy energy, Saturn's heavy energy. You're doing good. Keep going. You know, putting that metaphorical arm around us and allowing us to continue with the healing journey. So for me, it feels like a supportive energy for us to keep going in relation to our healing journey. It's extremely important that we heal because, you know, we're accepting. I mean, this is a massive thing in its own right and probably deserves another video here on YouTube. But it's a massive thing to actually go through and process wounds that have come up from the past, being aware of things from a past life that could be affecting you in this lifetime that need to be accepted, acknowledged, processed, transmuted. You know, there's a step-by-step way of going through all of this and gaining the wisdom from it, because that's the positive from it all. That's where the beauty is. That's where the growth is, even if it feels challenging, because we're learning so much more about ourselves and other people and situations and experiences. So it's actually enriching our lives. So the Venus energy is showing that divine feminine essence of nurturing, of love. Keep going on this healing journey, because you are learning, you are evolving as naturally as part of the process. Because when we're healing, we're not the same as we were before. So we've naturally ascended, we've naturally progressed in that way. Now, the moon at this time of Mercury transiting into Pisces, and what I've just mentioned with Venus and Chiron at the moment, we've also got the moon in Cancer. So the moon is at home. So that's also supportive energy to that love, that unconditional love, that essence of the divine feminine motherly energy. And it's very much supportive of the healing journey, where we're going, and embracing our feelings as part of that, because it's the moon. So being at home, that's a very comfortable position. And it's that acknowledgement of, okay, we've got this, you know, we've got this healing journey. We know what we need to do. We're understanding the lessons of Saturn. We're processing those as part of our healing journey because it's brought up lots to the surface. And we're transmuting, we're going through all of that. And Mercury is now in Pisces to help us connect with our source energy so we can truly understand why we've been doing this. So that is the essential point there, isn't it? When we connect with our intuition to understand why. Why is something right for us and why is something wrong for us? Well, check in with your intuition. Feel into it. And recognizing that the sun is in Pisces because we're Pisces season, water sign. The moon is in Cancer, it's home, but also water sign. So there is that flowing of emotions. Of course, it could be heightening sensitivities because we know Pisces can be sensitive, and also the Cancerian side can bring up sensitivities as well. So there could be that going on, or you could be aware of it around people, you know, that are near you. But it is still a supportive energy. That's what I'm feeling very much so from this. It's just encouraging us to take stock, to really embrace and acknowledge what we've been through up to this point. And remember that, you know, Venus and Chiron, and also Jupiter there as well, sitting in Aries, that is the sign of the self. So this has all been about us. And recognizing this energy astrologically, as above, so below, as within, so without. This energy is supporting our journey. If we can apply it in that way, if we can look at it in that way, and it helps us. This is why I love astrology, because it helps us understand certain things. You know, there's a purpose for everything. And, you know, not everybody agrees with that, and that's fine. But certainly it gives us that basis to understand what we're going through and to access the information of the energy that is supporting us, because we can work with that energy. Everything is energy. So why not work with it? Why work against it? It's better to work with it, even though it can be hard. And that's why there is that nurturing arm around Chiron, arm around us, to kind of encourage us to keep going with it all. We've also got Vesta in Aries as well, and that is also divine feminine energy. That's the asteroid that brings that Brigid energy, the keeper of the sacred flame. And that's also bringing that feminine nurturing energy in this particular case. That's how it feels to me. And we've also got Juno there, another divine feminine energy. So very much nurturing is what I feel. Now, what I'm going to do now is I am going to pull up the UK chart. So bear with me as I just change. And I'm having to just look on here to get the right chart. Okay, right. So here we are. So this is the UK's natal chart within the inner wheel. And Mercury in Pisces is the outer wheel. So that's the transits going on at that time of 22:52 GMT, or British Standard Time. These are the transits, okay? And what we have here, as depicted by my beautiful colouring skills, is we have the yellow showing Mercury in Pisces, 0 degrees. In the UK's 8th house, so that's where it's transiting through. Interestingly, Saturn being in the same house, even though it's in Aquarius, and this is why charts are unique, as I've said before. So that house of power, when you think of a nation, you know, we have that sort of Saturnian energy, which very much is attributed to power, isn't it, when it comes to, you know, getting things done, rules, stipulating all of that, when it comes to lessons, being that taskmaster. But Mercury in Pisces really wanting more of that connection to the spiritual side of it. And not everybody in the collective is going to resonate with that. So only take it as it applies, but it's certainly allowing us, we've all got intuition, we've all got that gut instinct. And some people might not think it's intuition, but it comes from that. And, you know, we utilize our human design as part of that, but that's, again, another video. But encouraging us to take our power back in order to check in with our intuition, and by doing so, taking our power back. So it's that reciprocal energy. But you'll notice that directly opposite, with the purple lines in the second house of the UK's natal chart, we have the moon, as in the UK's moon, because we know the moon up in the sky will be in Cancer at that point, which is actually in the 12th house. So that's interesting in itself, because 12th house, the moon transiting through Cancerian energy, there could be hidden emotions, there could be hidden feelings within the collective, and of course that could be, when you think of us, you know, associations to the Mercury and Pisces going within, there could be some uncomfortable feelings about that coming up to the surface of trusting our intuition, which might not seem like a lot, but to other people who are just on this spiritual journey, it could be a big deal. This transformative period could be waking them up, as in intensely. So, you know, if you've already been on your spiritual journey and the transformation has been heavy, spare a thought for those that are just starting out on their awakening journey at this time with all this energy going on. So we have that as an aspect to consider with the moon in Cancer, still with the nurturing energy, but uncomfortable hidden feelings maybe coming up about doing that, about connecting further to our spiritual selves, our divine source within. And the opposition that I referred to, and apologies because I jumped around a bit there, typical Pisces, but we have the second house, and that's where the UK's moon is in the UK's natal chart, 0 degrees. So Mercury at 0 degrees of Pisces, opposite 0 degrees Virgo. In the second house on this chart, worth and values. So again, when it comes to feelings of worth, feelings of value, sometimes it can be too uncomfortable to go within to communicate with our intuition. And that could be the challenge that's going on for the collective in the UK, for anybody watching that it resonates for, of course. Apply it to your own chart, apply it to your own country's chart. This is the chart for the UK, and I know I keep saying it, but every chart is unique. So take with it what you will, or take from it what you will. See, my Mercury is a bit all over the place. I've actually got Mercury in Pisces, so I am excited about this transit because it's that further connection to the divine source within. But for some people, there might be uncomfortable feelings when it comes to worth and value, because perhaps, especially if they are at the start of their spiritual awakening journey, they might not feel worthy of being what's the word? They might not feel worthy of recognizing that they are part of source. So that can be uncomfortable for some people. But the recognition that we have that energy, that source energy flowing through us, is a beautiful and magical gift. And we have that intuition within us that we can communicate with, and that which can communicate with us, which is extremely powerful because it helps guide us. But more often than not, do we listen to it? Ego could get in the way, other factors could get in the way. And that's why meditation for some, again, not for everybody, but meditation can help. Spiritual practices that you might have that help you connect to source energy, if it's daily, you've always got that constant connection. And this is what this energy is calling for. It's not saying you have to sit there and meditate, you have to go within and communicate. No, this is free will, you know, for everybody. This is just energy that supports us going within and connecting to our intuition, connecting to the source energy that is within us. And of course, as well, you know, connecting with our higher self as part of that process to guide us forward, connecting with our angels, with our guides, with our spirit team, whoever it might be that you connect with. That is connection to source energy. So the Piscean energy, that realm of the 12th house, the spiritual realm, that's why it's key in terms of enhancing and strengthening our communications with spirit. And it just might be uncomfortable for some people because they might not feel worthy of that. And again, in terms of self-esteem could be at play, but also if they're at the beginning of their journey, they might not even understand how to connect in to their intuition. So it's worth bearing that in mind, being respectful of everybody on their own unique journey. At the top of the chart, on this particular chart, we can see where the Aries energy is, because I've put the red line, and that's in the 10th house. So again, it's another powerful house because that can relate to work and it can relate to, you know, social status. And what we have is we have the Chiron and Venus conjunction with Jupiter there as well. And it's in the house where the UK has its own Chiron, as well as the sun. So when you think of the soul essence of the UK, to go deep like that, and any wounds or healing that the UK has to go through as a nation, but also as a collective. And Chiron is there with the Venus energy and the Jupiter energy. So it's enhancing that nurturing, as I was saying before. But certainly when it comes to how we might project ourselves to other people with that social status aspect, and that's where the wounds could have been coming up. But it's certainly allowing us to be nurtured in our healing journey when it comes to how we portray ourselves around others, because we're going within, we're doing all of that. It's Aries energy, it's all about the self. We're becoming more of that warrior self, more of that sovereign self through this healing journey in this process. And ultimately, that's going to impact how we are seen by other people. And of course, the soul, the sun, being that expression of self, you know, that true embodiment of self, soul essence, is there as well. So again, as a collective, as a nation, the expression of ourself, of our truth from our soul, might have had to go through that healing journey, which could have been uncomfortable. So the Venus energy is softening that. And Jupiter is bringing hope and is expanding opportunities. But remember, it can expand positive and negative. So if there's resistance to healing, it might just expand that energy so it becomes more difficult to deal with. But if everything's going well on the healing journey and utilizing that Venus energy that's supporting that, then the Jupiter expansion might also be expanding continuation of, you know, how you're basically how you're getting on in your healing journey. So expanding the hope from what you've been going through. There is hope, you know, there is hope at the end of all of this. Keep going. We're nurturing you, keep going, hope. So more on the hope side in that front. Yeah, if that makes sense. But certainly, you know, 8th house, 2nd house, 10th house, when it comes to the UK, quite linked in terms of power, and rooted at the values and worth, of course, in the 2nd house. And that is where the uncomfortable feelings might be because of the moon being there. And remember, the moon itself transiting through the 12th house of the hidden realms, which is the Piscean realm. So might just be hidden because people don't want to deal with it. It's too much. I can't, not worthy of that. Can't go there with my intuition. Can't go there. You know, this healing, all this stuff coming up, it's too much to deal with. You know, those kind of experiences. But that's why it's important to hold on to the positive energy that the divine feminine essence all over this chart within Aries is providing, as well as the moon being at home in Cancer, because it's in a comfortable position, but it might just increase sensitivity. So it's just something to be aware of, really, on that front. So that's what I wanted to tell you today. Just going to stop sharing. And yeah, I hope that if that resonates for you, that it helps in some way, because ultimately this transit is about Mercury going into Pisces. So everything that I've mentioned before about really supporting that communication that we can have with our intuition, that we can have with the divine, that we can have with source in whatever way that is, and also that we can receive that communication from source as well. It's a two-way thing, and it's supporting that. But there are hidden elements because of the Piscean energy, because of what's going on with the moon potentially as well. There could be hidden elements when it comes to our feelings. Do we feel comfortable about that? And it might be that this is just the time that we've been waiting for, because it's embracing that energy, especially before Saturn moves into Pisces on the 7th of March. And, you know, really calling for that moment of reflection in the moment of, have you learned the lessons of the last period? We're going forward now, so there's going to be new lessons to learn. And of course, karma is associated with all of that. We could have been processing a lot of karma already. And that's why I say it's no mean feat that we've been going through all of this. That transformation that Pluto has been asking us to do, we've been going through it, and it has been heavy. So I just want to say, just like Venus, you know, wrap that arm around yourself and give yourself that hug, because it's important to nurture ourselves through this healing journey, to continue the healing journey. It's all in order for us to continue. We need to feel nurtured in it, because if it's harsh energy, it's going to create that resistance. So I hope that finds you well. And until the next time, I think I'm probably going to do a report actually on Saturn moving into Pisces, because we've got the full moon on the same day as well. Whoosh. There's a lot going on there, so I will do that. But yeah, I hope this finds you well, and just embrace that Mercury in Pisces energy, and trust your intuition. You know, this period is all about trusting the intuition, because when Mercury then transits after into Aries, you know, in terms of that kind of taking action, that fire energy of really communicating and expressing what you want, it would have been from the Mercury in Pisces period that you've gone within and you truly understand what your intuition is telling you. So it all serves a purpose, as I say. Hope that finds you well. Take care of you, and I'm sending you love and blessings for this transit. Take care, everyone.